Hello all, I'm Sai and you're watching The Book Dragon. In today's video, I'm bringing to you my April TBR. So let's just get into the video and see all the books that I prioritized to read in the month of April. Okay, the first book that I put in my TBR for April is a book that is in between genres, that is fiction as well as non-fiction. I'm not sure about the genre of the book because I've not done that much research before picking this book up, and it is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Now, this is one of those books which is recommended a lot by all the booktubers and generally YouTubers out there because ever since I've started watching BookTube, I've seen this book being recommended in so many videos by so many really good YouTubers. Now, if you want me to name a booktuber who recommends this book a lot, it is Helly, who's an Indian booktuber. If you're not following her channel, please do follow it because she makes such good videos and they are so useful to see, and she's very relatable, and she's, I think, the biggest booktube channel in India. And apart from that, one of my most favorite booktubers, who's Murphy Napier, she's also reading this book in April, and I just picked this up by myself. And when I saw her April TBR, which released like 2 days before I filmed this video, she had this book in that TBR, and I'm so excited to read it along with her because she makes such good content, and every video that she posts is something that is well structured and it is good. If you're looking out for another good booktube channel, do follow Murphy Napier because she has very good content. And I'm going to read Tuesdays with Morrie, which is the point of this video. It's the first book in my TBR which I prioritized for April. The next book in my April TBR is a very famous book, and it is the third book from the Mortal Instrument series, which is City of Glass. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you must know that I've been reading the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare, like one book per month for the past 2 months, and until now it's going good, and I'm not completed reading the second book by the time I'm filming this video, but I like the direction in which the series progresses, so I've put the third book in my TBR for April. And another thing about the book which I'm excited about is that the author Cassandra Clare actually intended the whole series to be as a trilogy. So the climax of this book has a certain thing which makes the story to wrap up at the end of the third book itself. Now, if we want, it is said that we can read the first 3 books as a separate trilogy and the next 3 books in the series as a separate trilogy, and also when they are put together, they are very good working as a whole 6-book series. So I'm very much pumped to get this because I'm so much expecting the end of the third book because it is kind of the climax for a trilogy or the climax for a small series which I've been liking so much until now. The next book that I put on my TBR for April is a classic, and the classic that I picked up for this month is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Now, last month I picked up Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I didn't end up reading that book because I didn't finish it. I DNF'd the book. I didn't like the story that much. I didn't DNF it just by reading like a couple of pages or something like that. I pushed myself to read like halfway through the book, and after that I was not ready to waste my time in reading a book which I didn't like reading. So I just dropped it then, and I read the retelling of the book which I loved a lot, and it'll be that my wrap up for sure. And this month I plan to read Wuthering Heights, which the story's outline just intrigues me a lot to read this because in this book we have a family of a dad and his 2 children, a girl and a boy, and this father, he adopts another boy and he grows up with these 2 other children, and this adopted boy develops a love for the daughter of that father, and when this father dies, he's continually bullied by the sister's brother, and after he grows up, the adopted boy becomes very successful and he comes back to this hometown where he grew up and he was bullied by this brother to seek revenge. Now, I've heard that Wuthering Heights is a tragedy when it comes to classics, and also there's a lot of violence that is involved in the making of the story by Emily Bronte, that is written up by her. This is the main aspect that drives me a lot to pick up this book because I like seeing violence in books, and seeing it in a classic, it'll be in a poetic sense as far as I can understand. So I'm very much intrigued to read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. The next book that I put in my TBR is my most anticipated read for this month, and that book which I'm speaking about is Warbreaker by Sanderson. Now it's been like nearly 9 to 10 months since I read Elantris by Sanderson last year, and that whole experience of reading that book was very, very, very enjoyable for me, and I loved it a lot. I read it during my summer vacations, and it was so good, and it was very strong in every aspect, if you ask me. And as far as I've seen, Elantris is the weakest book that Brandon Sanderson has written, as it is said by other booktubers out there who has read like all of his works. And Warbreaker is one of the Sanderson favorites for booktube, and I'm very much pumped to read the story after reading Elantris, because I remember like most of the book vividly in my mind. All the main characters as well as the side characters in the book were so well crafted, and I've heard that the magic system in Warbreaker is based on colors. You can see that from the cover here. It has like small streaks of different colors, and a magic system that was the magic system that was used in Elantris by Brandon Sanderson was so good, and I'm very much pumped to read this. If you want to make me read some of his books, just tell me something about the magic system that he uses. And Elantris was like the best political book which I read. It had a lot of politics, but the politics was so beautifully handled by Brandon Sanderson, and I'm expecting a lot more from Warbreaker. This has the pressure of becoming a 5-star read for me, but I sincerely hope that this definitely will become a 5-star book for me this month. So let's just see, and if I end up liking this, which I will be reviewing this book separately in this channel. Okay, now the last book in my April TBR is an audiobook, and the audiobook that I put on this TBR is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Now this is the first book in the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and the genre of this series or this book is grimdark fantasy. The only grimdark fantasy that I've read before is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, which I ended up loving a lot. Now after that, there are 2 series which are recommended wholeheartedly by people who love grimdark fantasy, and they are the Witcher series and the First Law trilogy. I'm not picking up the Witcher series because it's not available as the audiobook for me in my subscription, but this whole series, this whole trilogy is. And the second reason is that there are comparatively a lot more number of books in the Witcher series compared to the First Law trilogy. It's a trilogy, that's the main thing, and all these 3 books are available for me in my subscription. And by the time I'm filming this video, I've listened to like 10% of the audiobook, and so far it is so good. It is definitely grimdark, and we have these 2 parts going on until now. I'm not sure what the story focuses on until now, and the 2 parts that are being focused is a guy who's stuck in this icy jungle, and he's experiencing so many attacks, and he's coming out of those attacks. And on the other side, we have another person who's being interrogated in custody, and definitely it's so violent, it's so graphic, and I'm loving it until now. And don't think me to be a psychopath just for loving violence in books. It is so well portrayed by the authors. That's why I love them a lot. And that's my final book in my TBR for April, and I'm sure that if I end up liking this trilogy or this book, I'll be putting up a review for each and every book separately. Okay, that's all for today, and these are the 5 books these are the 5 books that I put on my TBR for April, and I will be reading all these 5 for sure by the end of this month. And if I end up loving any of these books so much, I'll definitely do a spoiler-free review dedicatedly for each and every book that I end up liking the most. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.